Hey, this is Todd, and I'm talking about D&D sports. What is D&D sports? Let's just read straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. Here's their little clip that they posted on the website. I'm going to try my best movie preview announcer voice. Here we go. Imagine if two parties fighting for opposite sides found themselves in the same dungeon. It's kill or be killed. What will they do to survive? All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm here all week. So I'm going to quote from their posting. D&D Sports is the first online D&D tournament in a cooperative party versus party setting from Encounter Roleplay and D&D Beyond, with a grand prize of $5,000. Over the course of 4 weeks, 16 players will compete in teams of 4 in single elimination games. Each game is a best of 3 arena battle and played via Roll20. Pretty straightforward. PvP teams. I'm not sure why they call it cooperative party, but whatever. Two parties who will be battling against each other. It sounds a lot like a D&D version of League of Legends, something of that nature. According to this posting, they're still working on whatever kind of rules they're going to use. So I'm sure they're going to tweak things up to make it more challenging. Really, the first thought I had was, man, this is the type of thing that 4th edition was made for. 4th edition is just, I feel like, has got this in its wheelhouse, maximizing all the tactical moves. You're going to be playing on Roll20, so you're going to be naturally playing with a grid, so all those 5-foot steps and all those control things and the powers like the Warlord had, where you're shifting people here and there, pushing, pulling, really feels like this was a 4th edition kind of game. But I think in some ways 4th edition for this sort of thing was ahead of its time, but here we are. They're going to be doing it with some version of 5th edition and some house ruling. I think it's something that a lot of people are looking at and kind of rolling their eyes like, oh gosh, what are they doing? I'm not one of those people. I think the more different ways you can play the hobby, the better. There are people who are probably interested. Look, there are certainly people you run into on forums and online who are intrigued by the idea of playing player versus player, of putting their optimized characters against someone else's optimized character. I used to play with a group of guys, and every year they would have these crazy tournaments, and a lot of those were PvP of some nature. And it was fun. You build out this guy, and they would say, okay, have your guy to be level 15 or 20 or whatever it is, and have them all statted up, and you could have this much money in magic items and this much, other gear, and come all together in some giant arena. And, the DMs would have certain rules, so you couldn't necessarily just go right to pounding on each other, but that was basically would be the gist of it at the end. And it was fun. You could see who came up with the better build that game. But that was in more I think at the time we were playing 3.5. I think I took part in one of the tournaments. It might have been a 4th edition tournament. I might have done one in 5th. I don't remember. So it's something that can be fun. I think the fear that a lot of people have is this going to bleed over into their regular D&D games? Is this going to be something where people look at these hyper-optimized PvP characters, and that starts to funnel and fuel discussions about balance, about changes? Are people going to try to ape these builds in your game? I'm already one of the people that thinks that 5th edition may be too much along the line of everybody's creating these builds and what builds I can do, and that builds become the most important part. That character creation game becomes more of the game than anything else. It's already something I'm not a super fan of in this edition. I guess my mindset is kind of more the old school, where you just sort of go in and play and you get some character options, but they're not super defining. That's not what you're really building towards. But 5th edition, for better or for worse, they're definitely along this line of creating builds. And let's face it, a lot of people have fun with it. It's not my fun, but I'm not against other people having fun with it. But there probably is a fear among some people that's going to be taken to, another level with this PvP showcase. Is that going to lead to things about, are they going to make changes to the game based on things that are come out of this PvP thing, and whether that's something that should be done or not? And is D&D a game that's built balance wise on PvP? I tend to think not. On one level you think, okay, well, if all the character classes are meant to be sort of created equally and they're balanced at each level, they try to keep things more or less on an even keel with each class. But that's not quite the same as in a combat situation. Some classes are going to be more combat oriented than others. Some classes have more benefits over a long haul than others. And those classes probably won't get a lot of attention in this because we're talking in a battle. We're not talking about how fun a character can be or how effective they can be over a long haul or even a day of battle. I will be interested to see what kind of, if they do any sort of house ruling about things like, are you allowed all your powers in one combat? So you can, all your, long rest powers, all your short rest powers, obviously you probably have those, but basically long rest powers, you could be able to just go Nova with your strongest stuff. Or would it be something which might be interesting that over the course of the tournament, you would get, a long rest, maybe after 2 of the games, I think, what did I say? 4 weeks. So maybe the long rest would come after 2 weeks. So that adds some strategy. And in your first game, you blow your long rest powers. You won't have them, in the next encounter. But then what does that do for classes that rely more on short rest powers? Does that make them more effective because just the rules of the tournament are going to be more suited to them? So a lot of interesting things that can be done with it. I'll be curious to see how it goes. Again, it's not really my kind of game. I probably won't watch it. At least that won't be my first impulse, but maybe some scuttlebutt on the internet will talk about how amazing it is. And I'm sure if enough people are crowing about how great the a particular tournament game is, I'm sure that I'll tune in either at the time or afterwards to see how it goes. But I wish them luck. I think the more that D&D can spread out, I think the better, the more different elements you might pull in. Maybe there are people who aren't interested in the co-op, but they're going to be interested in the PvP. I know, for instance, when I play computer games, a lot of times I gravitate towards co-op, and I'm not a big fan necessarily of PvP stuff. But I know a lot of other players are the opposite. They could care less about co-op, and they're all about PvP. So this is a way for them to leverage D&D and pull in those PvP players. Great. I just hope they do so in a way that doesn't prove disruptive to the other side of the game, which is playing that co-op experience. Hopefully it can be something that can inform and enrich. I'm going to go with that, and we'll see how it goes. Hopefully they can make a really good go of it, and maybe it'll open up even other things. I would love to see, a different kind of esport in which you would take a quick adventure, a one-shot type adventure, and run through it with your party, and then compete against other parties, not so much in against each other head-to-head, but sort of in that high score. How efficient are you? How well can you get through the dungeon? And I know that older conventions, when they would play modules, like the old classic modules against the Giants type stuff, they had scoring, and you would compare your scores at the con for your group heading through this module versus another one. And that would be another really interesting way. I think they could do some kind of esport that is very much in the spirit of the game back in the day, and could be a way to, again, it enhances that co-op experience. It has a PvP element, but not in the way of you're just head-to-head banging against each other. But in a sense, you're going on your performance. And it would also be a way for classes that are not super combat oriented, or they don't have giant Nova powers that they can just blow up the field. It would give them a way to shine and hopefully maybe show players how effective they can be. Because one of the things I think with streams and with all these kind of elements about the game is, my favorite are when they can really expose elements of the game to people who may not have seen them or may have overlooked them, and show, hey, this class combination, maybe it doesn't show up on your top chart of efficiency, but look how amazing it can be in the right hands playing well. Hopefully they can do that. I'll be curious to see how it goes. If you enjoy videos like these, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. It helps me out a lot. I also have a Patreon if you'd like to support the show in a different way. Thanks for watching.